Now, good evening. Welcome to another virtual presentation by the Caroline County Library of Dearborn Heights, the first of the year. This one, entitled Embrace a Plant-Based Lifestyle with Marc and Kim Ramirez, is in conjunction with Veg Michigan. I will allow Olivia Grandprix, the Media and Outreach Manager for Veg Michigan, to introduce Marc and Kim.
Thank you so much, Rob. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And thank you so much to the Caroline Kennedy Library for hosting with us tonight. We're all excited to be here. As Rob said, I am Olivia and I'm the Media and Outreach Manager at Veg Michigan. Just real briefly, a little bit about Veg Michigan. We are the largest nonprofit in Michigan focused on promoting the benefits of a plant-based diet. We put on educational programs like this one a couple of times a month, host 2 large events every year, send out an awesome newsletter at the start of every month. We have a YouTube channel we just started last year with cooking videos and more. And we've also recently started a college giveaway program that encourages students to try plant-based foods for the first time for free. So doing a lot of great stuff. And as you can see on this slide that's on your screen right now is our website if you want to check us out and learn more about our work. And I've also listed all of our social media where we promote all of our upcoming events. We do monthly raffles where you can win prizes from local businesses, usually gift cards to delicious local vegan restaurants. We highlight our favorite places to find plant-based food around Michigan and much more. So definitely check that out and give us a follow if you're interested in that information. And then just lastly, if you like what you see tonight and you want to support our work, the best ways to do this are to either make a donation or become a member. And if you're thinking of donating, we're excited to say that right now, the majority of our donations will go to support our college giveaway program, which is for students who are new to plant-based eating. And each student who signs up gets a box packed with a delicious variety of vegan food. And we've already delivered over 100 boxes in just the last few months. So that's going really well so far. Or if you're thinking of becoming a member, the basic membership is only $20 a year, and that helps us out a lot as well. And plus, an exciting thing for all of our members or new to be members, we have a members only event coming up on January 28th, which is a live Q&A with Dr. Greger. And for anyone unfamiliar with Dr. Greger, he is a physician, a New York Times best-selling author, and an internationally recognized speaker on nutrition, food safety, and public health issues. So it's going to be really great. You can become a member by clicking join in the menu on our website, and you can make a donation by clicking donate. Just go to vegmichigan.org, as you see on the slide right there. All right, just a couple brief notes before we get started. I want to let you all know that we will be doing a Q&A at the end. And how we're going to do this is you can utilize the chat box throughout the presentation and ask questions in the chat box at any time. I will keep track of the questions asked throughout, and then I will ask them aloud for Marc and Kim to answer at the end. So I'll definitely keep track of everything, so feel free to ask it at any time. And then just along with this, as I said before, just please keep yourself on mute for the entire presentation so that everyone is able to give their full attention to Marc and Kim. And we also have a very short survey that I'm going to share in the chat box at the end of the presentation. If you could just take a couple minutes to answer the short questions, we'd really appreciate it. We really just want to give you the type of information you're looking for, so your feedback is very helpful. Okay, and finally, now let me introduce your speakers for tonight. Marc and Kim Ramirez are co-founders of the nonprofit Chickpea and Bean. Marc is a former University of Michigan football player who tackled chronic disease by adopting a vegan lifestyle. With help from his wife, Kim, he eliminated type 2 diabetes medications, including insulin shots, as well as high cholesterol and high blood pressure medicines. By conquering these devastating health issues, the well-being of their entire family improved. And now their goal is to share their story and help others transition to a plant-based lifestyle. Marc and Kim, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we're really excited to be here today, and we're going to share some information in hopes that, you take this information and hopefully you find it very useful and beneficial, and maybe you might just make some changes in your lives. If you're struggling with health, with chronic disease, etc., hopefully we'll inspire you to make some changes that hopefully will dramatically improve your health. So we are Chickpea and Bean. I am Mexican. I'm Bean. My wife is a chick, so she's chickpea and chickpea and bean. And it was the food. It was the food that we changed that dramatically improved our health. Not, reversed my type 2 diabetes, my high blood pressure, cholesterol, my obesity, all the chronic disease that I had. It all went away in a matter of months after being sick for a decade. So we are plant-based. Kim is actually plant-based certified through T. Colin Campbell's Center for Nutrition Studies. We're Food for Life instructors with Physicians Committee, Dr. Barnard. Kim is also certified through the Ruby Cooking School through their plant-based program. And again, we've been doing this for 6 years now. We've been helping people. We've helped thousands of people do this. So very excited to be here. All right. So we're coming to you with a message of hope because again, I was very sick, but we were able to reverse all this chronic illness in a matter of months.
Yeah, and here's what you can expect for the next hour or so. Marc is going to share his personal story, which I think you'll enjoy. It's very powerful. And then after he goes through that, we're going to talk about foods, what we buy, what we make at home, and we'll show you pictures of things we actually eat that we pull out of our pantry. And then at the end, we'll have time for questions and answers.
Yep. All right. So you ready, Ms. Kim?
I'm ready. Let's
go. So first, a quick disclaimer. The information and materials presented here are provided for general information purposes and may not be relied on as a substitute for actual medical advice, care, or treatment. Nothing we say may be used for diagnosing or treating a health condition, and it's not a substitute for professional medical diagnosis or treatment.
You are encouraged to consult your physician, nutritionist, or dietitian to obtain professional medical advice, which may agree or disagree with the information provided here. And remember, people eating plant-based or vegan need to take a B12 supplement.
All right, so let's jump in here real quick. So this is my family. This is my side of the family on Kim and I's wedding day back in 1992. We're going back a little bit in time. You see the arrow, it's over my oldest brother, David. Now, David died at the young age of 41 after a 9-month bout with pancreatic cancer. But David was diabetic for approximately a decade. He had high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He left behind his wife and 2 children, my niece and nephew, unfortunately. Next is my little brother, Martin. Now, Martin is 5 years younger than me. He's 47 years old. I'm 52. But Martin was diagnosed with diabetes at about 13 or 14 years old. So he's had it for over 30 years. Now, Martin has had his right leg amputated. He's had a pancreas and 2 kidney transplants, a heart attack. He was on dialysis for a decade before he got his 2nd kidney transplant. He has no teeth. He takes over 20 medications every single day. And he's been through the ringer and back from a health perspective. And yet he still keeps a positive attitude, but the ultimate long-term effects of chronic disease have really weighed on him. My mother, Carol, mom died at the young age of 61. She was diabetic for over 33 years, 2 heart attacks, a kidney transplant, legally blind for a decade, multiple procedures, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all kinds of medications. And ultimately at 61, she needed a double bypass. She went into Rush Presbyterian Hospital in Chicago and unfortunately never made it out, passed at the young age of 61. My little sister, Sandra's 2 years younger than me. Sandra's been diabetic about 18 years, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, multiple medications. My sister, Jill is the only one in this photo besides Kim, my wife, who have not battled diabetes. Everybody else in this photo either have diabetes or had it at one point. So Jill, because she wasn't and hasn't battled with diabetes, remember I talked about my mother having a kidney transplant? Guess where that kidney came from? My sister, Jill. So no diabetes, but yet she was still impacted. My sister, Carol is the oldest in the family. Carol was diabetic for about 5 years. And once she saw what Kim and I did in the way of adopting a plant-based lifestyle, decided to change most of her foods and is now no longer considered diabetic. She was able to eliminate taking her metformin medications. And last but not least is my twin brother, Joe. There's 2 of us, the evil twins. But Joe has been diabetic approximately 20 years, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. He's had a heart attack. So if you look at my family, we've been devastated by diabetes and chronic disease and illness. And it's not a fun topic to talk about. In fact, it kind of hurts me every time I have to tell this story, because I look at all the devastation that chronic illness and disease has caused to my family. And it's not fun. And you all may relate to some of this. You may either be struggling yourself or have family members who are struggling. This is not uncommon, unfortunately, across many families throughout the world. So remember, I talked about chronic disease. Remember my little brother, these are the pills that he wakes up to every day. He's got to take these pills, some of them multiple times a day. This is what he wakes up staring at, all these medications. And
I think you want me to remind you to warn people about some.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And so, I do tell Kim to help keep me on track, but also to remind me the next photo, just a little warning if you're eating or something, it is of an amputation. I'm going to show you a quick picture of my brother's amputations that he went through. Remember, I mentioned his leg. So it's coming up now. So he caught a blood blister on the top of his right foot. The doctors cleaned it out, but 2 of those toes were turning purple. So they had to amputate his 4 toes. And then if you look down here, I mean, there is an ankle there, but the circulation is so poor, it's not healing right. So they had to go and take his leg just below the knee within a week of the first amputation. So 2 amputations within a week. This is his right leg. And these are the long-term effects of diabetes. Now, he also had to go and do dialysis for a decade. For 10 years, he would go hook up to this machine. This is his arm right there, and have his blood, cleaned out, right? He'd sit there for 4 hours. And once the procedure's done, now he has to go home and try to recuperate from this devastating procedure. And while we appreciate that the technology is there to keep him alive, it does. I mean, it takes about a day or so for him to just start feeling somewhat better or normal again. And just about that time, guess what? It's time to go dialysis again. It's 3 times a week, right? So very devastating procedures. And again, I'm glad they're here, but if we can avoid this, if we can help our families avoid this, we're going to be better off. Now, while my family was back in Chicago, unfortunately getting sicker and sicker every year, I had the fortunate opportunity to come earn a football scholarship to play at the University of Michigan. That's where I met Kim, actually, in 1989. This photo's from 1989. So I was a right guard, 305 pounds, big guy on the offensive line. And there's a picture of me again back in 1989. If we fast forward to a photo of me 7 years out of college. So now Kim and I are married. We started our family. You see my daughter right here and my son down here in the corner. And I'm now 7 years out of college, and my body's starting to transform. I continue to eat like a football player, but I'm certainly not getting the exercise and working out like one. My body, my waist is getting bigger. My face is getting bigger. I lost a little bit of weight, but my body's starting to transform and move, and chronic illness is starting to set in. If we fast forward to 2011, now we're on my daughter's high school senior trip. This is on the cruise. And I'm approximately 260 pounds in this photo. You can see I'm busting at the seams here with my pants. My face is kind of chubby. And it's at this point that I've been diabetic almost a decade, almost 10 years. I'm taking Lantus insulin shots, 2 diabetes medications, a high blood pressure medication, a high cholesterol medication. I'm obese. I don't sleep well. And I just keep getting a little bit worse every year. So I see myself headed down the same path and trajectory as my family, right? And I know that I needed to make a change. I needed to make a change because of my children. I have 2 children now. I want to be able to, unfortunately, like my mother, I want to see and grow old with my grandkids, and God willing, my great grandkids, right? My mother passed away and my daughter was 9 and my boy was 6. And that she barely got to know them because they live in, Chicago. We live here in the Metro Detroit area. So she barely got to know my children. I did not want that to happen to us, to me and my family. So there's my 2 children. And what did we do? How did this transform? Well, it started with a documentary, Forks Over Knives. Kim and I, we were given that documentary by Kim's parents. They knew I was sick. They knew I was struggling. So they gave it to us. It sat on the shelf for a couple months. But then one day we decided to put it in and watch it. We saw that, and from there we learned about Dr. Neil Barnard and how he has this, this book about reversing diabetes. So we saw the documentary, we read the book, and we implemented a low-fat, plant-based lifestyle. And through that, in a matter of months, it's amazing what happened. So these photos here, they're of my blood work. Now, we adopted this lifestyle on December 3rd of 2011. If you look up here, this blood work is from September of 2011. And over here, this is from December of 2011. So really just a 2-3 month time span here when we started this lifestyle. Let me zoom in so we can see some of the numbers here. So this is September of 2011. If you look at my cholesterol, it's 164, triglycerides 192, HDL 39, LDL 87. And if you look down here, my hemoglobin A1C, the metric that determines if you're diabetic or not, it's 10.5. It's almost double that of the non-diabetic. We adopt this lifestyle on December 3rd of 2011. And 26 days later, it's time to go get my blood check, because diabetics, you go every 3 months. They check your A1C, they check your blood glucose levels, a lipid panel. So when I went, I was 26 days in. You can see here, December 3rd, we start this lifestyle. This is December 29th. And my cholesterol, 104, it dropped 60 points. Triglycerides dropped 81 points to 111. HDL stayed about the same, 38, 39. And my LDL, the bad cholesterol, cut in half from 87 to 44. And most impressively to me, my A1C dropped from 10.5 to 8.1. In my decade of being sick, trying all these crazy diets and all these different tactics, I had never seen anything do to improve my blood work as much as I saw with this. So this told me, this was the aha moment that stay the course. Keep eating low-fat, plant-based. This is working. I'm losing between 5 to 7 pounds a week. My blood glucose levels are plummeting. My energy levels are going up. I'm eating the right foods. So we just decided, we were going to stay the course. And in 3 months, and I lost 50 pounds. I went from 260 to 210 pounds. Now, mind you, I was a fast food junkie, going to McDonald's and all the fast food places and Pizza Hut and Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I'm eating all the wrong foods. But in 3 months, I lost 50 pounds. And in 2 months, that photo of all those medications you saw, they were gone. 2 months, I get rid of the medications. 3 months, I shed 50 pounds. And here we are over 9 years later, and I'm still medication free. In fact, I'm lighter than I am in that photo. I'm about 196. Actually, as of a few days ago, I was 196. So I've lost another 15, 16 pounds from that photo. And this is me. This is a recent picture. I'm not a bodybuilder, never will be, but at 52, and I'll be 53 in a Monday in a few days, I'm looking pretty good, I think, for being a 53-year-old plant-based guy. So you're going to get all those myths about protein and all that. You're going to get plenty of protein from the plant-based world. Now, this is a more recent blood work. This is from midsummer last year, June of 2020. You can see my total cholesterol, 126, HDL 29, triglycerides 97, LDL 78, my fasting blood glucose 96, all in the normal range, all without medications. A1Cs are always in the 5. So I love going to the doctor now because I only go once a year, maybe once every couple of years. And the blood work is almost always consistent. It's in this range. I never worry about it. Those pressures of never knowing what your blood work was going to show, those are all gone because I know what it's going to show because we're eating the right foods. In my opinion, if the FDA were really doing their job, they'd take the clown, the chihuahua, the colonel, the king, right? And we throw them in jail and we'd never let them out because these foods are absolutely killing not only us, but our children, our families. These foods are horrible for our health. Now, this is the part of the presentation where I just ask you to step back for a quick minute and think about what we've been taught. Think about what we've learned throughout, starting in biology and starting in, class in junior high and high school and all the things we learned in health class and all the information that we've been fed. So when you look at this photo, does anybody see anything crazy or anything that looks, just not normal or doesn't look right? You have mama cat feeding her kittens, right? And most people say, Mark, that's normal. That's normal stuff. That's okay. I agree. It's normal. How about here? We have a baby calf taking nourishment from mama calf. Anything seem crazy or out of whack to anybody here? Most people say, no, that's normal. That's supposed to happen. How about here? Anything seem a little crazy or out of whack? We are the only mammals that go and take nourishment from another mammal. You will not drive into the jungles of Africa and find a gorilla taking nourishment from an elephant, or a cat taking nourishment from a dog, or a dog from a cat. That doesn't happen. That's not normal. So that fluid from the cow is intended to take a baby calf and grow him or her to be 6, 7, 800 pounds within a year. We're not cows. We're not meant to be cows. We're not meant to have those growth spurts like that. So we don't need that food. The best food for a human baby is from mama's breast. And if that doesn't work, then there's formulas and stuff, but not from a cow, not from an entirely different species. And I get it, right? It's people marketing to us all, right? There's constantly marketing. We're getting bombarded from restaurants and all kinds of. What's interesting today is when you're watching TV, you see a commercial for a Kentucky Fried Chicken or for Taco Bell or for Arby's. And the next commercial you see, what is it? It's for medication. Hey, you got diabetes, you have high blood pressure, you have high cholesterol, all those foods that are causing those very diseases. And again, it's marketing. Here you have a doctor that's telling you, hey, give your throat a vacation and smoke a fresh cigarette. Now we know smoking causes cancer. It's terrible for your health. But back in the 50s, 60s, 40s, and even 70s, they were promoting it as something cool to do. You used to be able to buy cigarettes at your bedside in the hospital. Again, we know that that's cigarette smoking or any kind of smoking really is horrible for your health. And you can't even smoke in a hospital. You have to go outside, right? So times have changed. We've learned. And I think that the food industry today is exactly where the tobacco industry was some decades ago. So our mission is to try and get this information out there and get people to really start thinking about what they're eating. And earlier I mentioned protein. That's one of the first questions that Kim and I get from anybody. Where do you get your protein? Where are you getting your protein, Mark? Where do you get it? So I tell them, time out. Look at the gorilla. The gorilla shares the same DNA as a human being to 98.3%. They are almost human from a genetic standpoint. And guess what? That guy there, he doesn't eat meat. And he doesn't drink milk except when he's young from his mother, when he's born. Then he weans off and he doesn't drink it anymore. Look at how big and strong they get. Where are they getting those muscles? Where are they getting that huge, all that calcium for their skeletal structure? They're getting it from plants. The same place that Kim and I have been getting ours for over 9 years. And if you think about it, the elephant, the giraffe, the rhinoceros, the bull, the stallion, the hippopotamus, the ox, the largest land animals on this planet, guess what, folks? They don't eat meat and they don't drink milk except when they're young from their mother. How are they getting these huge muscles, and they're the largest land animals on the planet? Where are they getting their protein? Plants, the same place we can get ours. In the same place we've been getting ours. And what's ironic is when I was playing football at Michigan, I'd go in a training table and they'd have a bunch of steaks out there. And that was what basically was, I was told ever since I was in elementary school and junior high playing football, eat a bunch of steak, get a lot of protein. And if you look at, obviously where does steak come from? From cows. What do cows eat? They're not eating organic grass-fed beef. They're eating corn and soy and different plants. They don't eat meat. So it's kind of ironic that we sit here and think that we're going to get a bunch of protein from an animal who doesn't eat meat. We can get plenty of protein from the plant-based world. And we share this message so that when you're looking at your families, when you're looking at your futures, loved ones, friends, etc., if you see them struggling with weight, struggling with a bunch of chronic illness, there is so much that is in their power and within their reach that they can do if we just look at the foods they're eating, the lifestyle they're living, maybe a little bit of exercise, eating the right foods, and they will start to thrive. Kim and I have helped thousands of people do this over our 6+ years of having chickpea and bean, and it works. Every single time that someone does this, there's not been one person who comes back and says, I got worse. And if they're feeling worse, it's probably because their medications are a little too strong now. They need to ratchet back on some of those medications.
With help from their doctor.
With help from their doctor, yes. We're not doctors. We want you to partner with your medical provider, your doctor, and have him or her help you and walk you through this. But it's amazing what can happen when we start feeding our bodies with the right foods, maybe getting a little bit of exercise and trying to just help your overall health. And what's really cool is when you look at our family now.
Right. So here you see a picture from our daughter's wedding day. And as opposed to our wedding picture that you saw, we're so happy to say that everybody in this picture is healthy. There's nobody here struggling with any sort of chronic disease. We're very blessed for that. And now we can say that about Mark too, because here he is, and those diseases are no longer a part of our life. And we share this message because we feel like there are so many people who don't have this information, and there's a lot of suffering going on that doesn't have to happen. So that's our goal, is to get this information out there and then let people decide for themselves whether they want to go down this path. And if they want to give it a try, we are more than happy to help.
Yeah. And what's cool is what happened 8 months ago.
Yeah. So, one of the reasons that we did this, one of the reasons we changed our eating habits and our lifestyle was like Mark mentioned, we want to be there for our children. We want to be there for our grandchildren. And we are now grandparents. About 7 months ago, we had our first grandchild, a little boy. And it's just thrilling because now the future looks bright. Back when Mark was sick and struggling with all those issues, we felt like we were in a storm and it was only going to get worse and worse. And we just kind of had to brace ourselves. When we realized that we had so much more control over our health and well-being than we thought, it really changed the psychology and the emotional wellness of our family.
Yeah. And we get it, right? Because I grew up believing, ever since I was young, and I can remember my mother was popping pills for diabetes. You grow up and you hear, oh, well, Hispanics have a high rate of diabetes. It's kind of in your genes. There's not much you can do about it. And that's kind of what I thought. Is I'm looking at my family just go through this process of chronic illness and just tons of devastation. I'm waiting and bracing for that to hit me. And of course it did. And for a decade, I'm just getting worse. And I'm seeing all the things that happened to my family start to happen to me, which is now going to affect my wife and my children. And you think it's genetic. And again, there may be some component of genetics that make my family maybe more predisposed to have diabetes, but it's more what each one of us is doing every day and the way we're fueling our bodies. That we can control so much of our own destiny and our own health.
Because we don't just share genes with our family, we also share habits and recipes and menus and lifestyle. So there's a lot more power in nutrition than we originally thought.
Yeah. And I did this and people say, oh, Mark, that's amazing. That's incredible. And I just tell them, look, I am no more incredible or amazing than any one of you listening to this right now. If we can do this jock, macho god, steak eating guy can do this, that I used to have an animal products on my plate and food every day, every meal. And I wasn't happy if I didn't, can do this, eating all that food it's been over 9 years, folks, and we've not had any, and we never have plans to go back either. So it's really cool.
If we can do it, anybody can do it.
You can do it. We're no more special than any one of you listening to this presentation right now. You can do it, and we can help you too. So good stuff. Now, we've been very blessed and fortunate to share this message really across the country, in Mexico and a few other countries as well. But we've been on TV, on radio, on billboards. I was fortunate to do a TED Talks, all kinds of ways that we've been able to share this. So we've seen just thousands and thousands of people dramatically improve their health by doing and by adopting a plant-based lifestyle. So we're very blessed for that fact. And we were even featured in a documentary. It's called Eating You Alive. There's actually been several, I think it's a total of 5 documentaries that we've been featured in. But this is Eating You Alive is one. It's kind of cool because it has Samuel L. Jackson and James Cameron and Penn Jillette, some celebrities that a lot of people recognize. But the film focuses on doctors who are treating people and reversing a ton of chronic illness eating this way. And then they had testimonials, and I was blessed to be the diabetes testimonial. So it's a cool documentary. If you have some time, check it out, Eating You Alive. And now we're going to get into, well, how did we do this? What did we do? Kim is, fortunate for me, I have the Kim factor. I have Kim who takes care of all our food and really prepares the majority of it. I make a few things here and there, but she's really the rock when it comes to preparing our food and making the food. So we're going to turn it over now to Kim and have her talk about the foods that we eat.
So we eat from 4 main food groups, and that is legumes. Legumes are beans or anything that grow in a pod. fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. We also have about a palmful of nuts or seeds or nut-based products each day. And that's where we get our healthy omega-3 fatty acids. And those would be things like ground flaxseed, walnuts, and chia seeds. So that's the picture of healthy eating. And here are some actual meals that we've prepared. And up in the corner there, you see Mexican one-pot quinoa. That recipe is on our website. It's really delicious and easy to make. I love things that you can just make in one pot. It's so much simpler and less mess. There's also some steamed kale with some nutritional yeast on top. In the middle there, you see what looks like meatloaf, but it's actually lentil loaf. And our son is a big fan of this. It has a delicious glaze that's made with maple syrup, ketchup, and balsamic vinegar. So that's really good for holidays and things like that. That's also on our website. Up in the corner there, you see something more simple. It's something we eat about once a week. And all that is pasta with red sauce. One of our go-to quick and easy meals. The good news is, and a lot of people are surprised, we actually eat things like pasta and potatoes and rice and some things that normally people struggling with diabetes are told to avoid. Did you want to talk a little bit about why that helps you when you eat high carb foods like that?
Yeah, so there's the main cause of insulin resistance is too much fat inside the muscle cells and tissues. It's called intramyocellular lipid, or fat inside your muscle cells and tissues. I'm not talking about the belly fat, the fat that's around our belly. I'm talking about actually inside your muscle cells and tissues. When those cells and tissues become so consumed with fat, the insulin that's trying to take that glucose out of the blood, inject it into the muscle cells and tissues to be used as energy, that signaling process breaks down. And so there's so much fat in the cells, they say, hey, insulin, glucose, I don't need you. I got plenty of energy in these cells. The glucose ends up staying out in the blood, and ultimately you end up seeing elevated blood glucose levels, which ultimately leads to pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and a whole slew of other issues down the road. But that's the main cause. Yes, we don't want to eat a bunch of just sugar, raw sugar. But when it comes to the fruits and the vegetables and the grains and the beans and the potatoes, all the whole foods, we eat that up. And I remember my doctor telling me, hey, be careful with oranges. They're full of sugar, and bananas. And I eat a ton of bananas and fruits, all kinds of fruits, very frequently throughout the day, because they have sugar or glucose in them, but they're wrapped around a bunch of fiber and vitamins and minerals. And it's not the same as, they don't tend to elevate your blood glucose levels the way that fat does. So get the fat out of your diet, and you're going to start to see your blood glucose levels normalize.
Right. So these foods we're showing you in those 4 main food groups, they're low fat, high carb, but they're good carbs. They are whole foods like potatoes and pasta and things Mark was mentioning. And by eating this way, when it comes to fighting diabetes, you are really getting at the root cause of the diabetes, not just the symptoms. Whereas the symptoms would be high glucose, this is getting at the cause on a cellular level, so you can fix the problem. Okay, so let's move on and talk about some of these other delicious dishes. Down in the corner, you see a salad our daughter made, really simple, with some chopped up cucumbers, and I'm trying to see what she had in there. Tomatoes, onions, green onions, avocado. Really good. Now, our daughter doesn't have to eat as low fat as we do because she is not trying to lose weight and she doesn't have diabetes issues. So people like that don't have to worry about the fat content quite as much. Next, you see a bowl of oatmeal with some berries and nuts and chia seeds. That is our go-to breakfast. We eat oatmeal just about every morning. I love it. You can make oatmeal taste so good by adding fruit and some nuts or seeds. We cook it with some almond milk. Vanilla flavored almond milk is absolutely delicious. It's so good. In fact, some mornings I get up just because I'm so excited to go make my bowl of oatmeal, and I'm so hungry and ready for it. And we still have treats. Down in the corner there, you see some of Marc's cookies. That recipe is on our website as well. It's simply made with oats, bananas, and chocolate chips.
Really good stuff.
So some people ask us if we cook from scratch all the time and if we eat organic, non-GMO all the time. And the answer to that is no. In fact, when we first started, if we had been expected to do that, it would have been too much. So that's why we developed this little system called Good, Better, Best. And to show you on the left there, you see a can of garbanzo beans, otherwise known as chickpeas. And it's vegan, it's plant-based, it's just beans in a typical can, cost about 60 cents, I think, at Aldi. That's good. In the middle there, you see something a little bit better. It's better packaging, it's non-GMO, it's low sodium, that's better. And then on the right, you see the best. This is organic, non-GMO. You have to cook them from scratch. They're locally grown, they're in a great package. That's the best choice. But whether you do good or best all the time, it doesn't really matter, because if you're looking to get results in your health, all we did was a good category in the beginning, and Marc still had remarkable results. So don't let perfection get in the way. Don't feel like if you're not cooking from scratch, you're not getting organic, you're messing up. If all you can do is good, that's okay. Just keep it low fat, plant-based. You're still going to do really well. And when you go shopping, we suggest you spend a lot of time here. This is our favorite place in the grocery store. It is gorgeous with all those colors. It smells good. And we find that people usually spend more time shopping and looking around in the beginning of their grocery trip. And that's where we want you to spend a lot of time, is here with the fresh fruits and vegetables. So start here, you'll probably spend more time. And then near the end of your grocery trip, you might get rushed and just want to get home. So explore that part of the grocery store really well. Here are some typical breakfast foods. These are items we pulled out of our cupboards here at home. You see some oatmeal. A lot of foods are sort of vegan by accident, like grits or cream of wheat, as long as you don't add butter and use plant-based milk and products that are made from plants, it's just fine. Shredded wheat, grape nuts, those are good choices. When it comes to milk, please try to get away from dairy products that come from animals. That they're really not good for us. They're filled with growth hormones, like Marc was talking about. One of my pet peeves is you might see commercials that are promoting dairy products from cows, and it'll say, no added hormones. Well, the problem with that statement is it's very misleading, because even if hormones are not added to those products, they naturally have hormones already from the animals. And those hormones can cause problems in our bodies, such as cancer. So it's better to get your milk from places like plants, almonds, oat milk, soy milk, those are all better choices. And then you'll see some bread items in the middle. One of our favorite is the Food for Life Ezekiel breads. And you can usually find these in the freezer section because they are preservative free. So grocery stores usually like to keep them there so they stay fresh for a long time. Except at Trader Joe's, those are kept out on the shelf. And then at Kroger, we also find this Dave's Killer bread. All of that brand are vegan unless it says it has honey, like the honey wheat. So those are really good choices for things like toast and sandwiches. Here you see some corn tortillas right in the middle. We love tacos. Marc has tacos almost every day. And we love this El Milagro brand because it only has 3 ingredients. I think it's corn, water, and salt. Is that right?
Or lime.
Or lime, something like that.
There's only 3 ingredients.
Very, very good whole food. We also eat spaghetti, pastas. We go for whole wheat when it's available, but if you're in a situation where you can't find that, or you're at a restaurant, regular pasta is fine too. In the gluten-free section, you might see these new types of pastas that are made from legumes. Those are delicious, especially when you put on some wonderful red sauces. You can't even tell that they're made from legumes. And that would make it gluten-free, and it also is really loaded with protein. We also love quinoa. It's kind of funny. The first time we had quinoa, we were at a Mediterranean restaurant, and what I was ordering had a quinoa dish on the side. And I said to the waiter, oh, what is this quinoa stuff? And he politely explained to me it's pronounced quinoa, even though it's spelled Quinoa. That is high in protein. It's very similar to rice. And if eating beans is new to you, you might want to try making quinoa because it's easier to digest loaded with protein and kind of familiar because it is so much like brown rice. We also love brown rice. Ground flax seed is important to have around our house because we count on it for getting our healthy omega-3s. But if you can also use walnuts or chia seeds, but please be aware, if you are using flaxseed to get your healthy omegas, you need to grind the flax seeds so that your body can reap the benefits of the omegas. If you leave it whole, it's a wonderful fiber, but it's going to come out of your body the way it went in. Your body's not going to be able to break those seeds open to get the omegas. So please buy them pre-ground or grind them up yourself. And another thing we do, because we are low fat, we avoid oil. So instead of cooking with oil, you know how a lot of recipes start by saying saute 1/2 cup of diced onion and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. So many recipes start that way. So all I do, I simply use vegetable broth or just plain water. And I use that to saute my veggies. It's really simple. All I do is keep a measuring cup of water next to the stove and I start cooking the veggies. And if they look like they're starting to turn brown or stick to the pan, I simply add water about a tablespoon at a time to the pan and give it a stir. It works great. It's a wonderful way to cut down on all that fat. Now, here are some faux meat products. And you don't have to eat products like these if you don't want to. If you want to stick to more whole foods and go for things like lentils and chickpeas and beans, that's wonderful. But I think these are great transition foods. They're also very convenient. So if you find that giving up meat is really hard for you, a product that might help a lot is that Light Life Smart Ground you see up in the right-hand corner here. It is very similar to ground beef. And when you saute it up with some onion and add some wonderful sauces, it's really hard to tell the difference.
Were you going to talk about a recipe?
I was,
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
You were going to talk about sloppy joes, weren't you?
Yeah.
So something that sort of saved us in the beginning is vegan sloppy joes, and there's a recipe for it on our website. It tastes really good. I like to say it has a secret ingredient, and that is Montreal steak seasoning. Now, if you think about it, a lot of times when people eat meat, it's not really the meat itself that has flavor. It's the spices and the rubs and the sauces that people add to those meats that make it taste good. And those sauces and spices and rubs, what are they full of? Plant products. So using those comes in really handy. You can use those same flavors you used to enjoy with meat, just add them to plant products.
Yeah, and no, I was just
Yes.
going to say, I grew up eating fajitas and enchiladas and burritos, and guess what? We still eat those foods, and all the flavors are pretty much the same because we're adding the same spices, right? Because it's herbs and spices that we're adding to these foods that give them the phenomenal taste. So
Right.
like whether it's Italian or Mexican or Indian, or it's herbs and spices and sauces giving those foods those amazing flavors. So you can still use them and enjoy those foods that you enjoyed growing up.
That's right. And you can go to the next
Okay,
slide.
next
if you
slide.
want. Now, we encourage you to eat a lot of salad because leafy greens are so good for our bodies. They are so nutritious. But if you're adding a lot of high-fat salad dressings to those salads, it's like taking one step forward and 2 steps back. So it's important to find a salad dressing you enjoy that does not have oil and is not high in fat. And one of our favorite salad dressings is simply balsamic vinegar. You can also try seasoned rice vinegar. You can find that in the Asian section of grocery stores. It's rice vinegar that has a little bit of salt and sugar added, so it has a nice flavor. And you can add that plain to your salad, or what I like to do is mix seasoned rice vinegar with a little bit of orange juice or apple juice. That tastes delicious on a salad. And then sort of make your salads more substantial by adding a dollop of hummus, or simply rinse one of those cans of chickpeas and throw that on top, or put it in a wrap and turn it into more of a meal. And I like to share this slide because I want people to know that they can feel comfortable sharing this information with their family and friends and feeding people this way. So here you have a position statement from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics about vegetarian diets. It's a well-respected organization, and it reads, appropriately planned vegetarian, including vegan diets, are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits in the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. These diets are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, older adulthood, and for athletes. And you might have noticed in the news lately, a lot of athletes are discovering the power of eating plants. And there's a new documentary called The Game Changers that really dives into that subject. If you're interested in that, check that out.
Yeah, this is actually, speaking of athletes, this is one of my best friends at college, Greg Skrepnick. He was a two-time All-American, drafted into the pros, went on to play for the Raiders and in North Carolina for about 8 years. But he's the biggest man I've ever met. When he played, he's 6'8", and he played at about 330, 340 pounds. He's a big man. Anyway, when we saw him, and we've seen him throughout the years, and unfortunately he was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger every time we saw him. Well, in January of 2016, we see him and he's 535 pounds. I mean, he's a massive man, but he's just way overweight. Kim and I had been on him. Hey, Greg, let's do this plant-based thing. Look at what happened to us. Look at what happened. Look what we're doing and helping all these people. He finally decides to try a plant-based lifestyle. And I'm not going to read all the bullets, but basically in 1 year, he lost 150 pounds. His pants dramatically reduced, his shirt, everything got better, reduced a whole bunch of medications, better sleep, lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, less meds, better quality of life. But it's amazing, the transformation. And his story is not unique. We've seen this time and time again with people that adopt this lifestyle, they get better. So he's just our best friend, one of my best friend from college. So we wanted to highlight him here. But you can do this. Folks can do this. This is our website, chickpeaandbean.com. We got all kinds of information out there, events that we're hosting and recipes, etc. And of course, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Those are our handle feeds, our website. And with that, Miss Olivia, we are more than happy to try and answer some questions and give some feedback here.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much again. I just want to start off by saying happy early birthday to you, Mark, and congrats to both of you on your first grandchild. That's very exciting. I also just want to say briefly that I just shared in the chat box the link to the vegan sloppy joe recipe from Chickpea and Bean that they were talking about earlier. So if that looked good to you, which I'm sure it is, go ahead and click that link and check it out. And they have a lot of other really delicious recipes on their website as well. So, if you're looking for something new, definitely give that a look. Okay, we do have just a couple questions so far. Well, one's a comment. Wendy, who has previously said she's a chef, so I'm sure she knows what she's talking about. She says quinoa is considered a complete protein, she believes. I don't know if you guys have anything to say on that, but that's always wonderful when you can find a plant-based complete protein.
Oh yeah, for sure. We love it. We eat it regularly. In fact, we got that one pot Mexican quinoa recipe is on our website. We love quinoa, so good stuff.
Absolutely. I've recently been making quinoa using vegetable broth instead of water, and it adds a lot of extra flavor. It's really good.
Oh yeah, that's a good tip.
Okay, Rebecca said that she bought flax powder and was just seeing if that's as good as flaxseed.
Yes, that's good because that means it's broken open so you can get all those omega-3s. So yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
Absolutely. Okay, Susie just asked if you eat products made from soy.
Yes,
we do.
We are not afraid of soy. I know there's a lot of information out there talking about how soy is not good for you, may make men, have man boobs and all these other things out there. But when we are Food for Life instructors with Physicians Committee, Dr. Barnard's organization, and there are several studies that they see. Think about this, folks. Think about soy in China. They've eaten soy for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And they were, when I was growing up, it was, hey, the people in Chinese, they're so healthy, they're thin, they're doing great. And that was true until around 1980 or so, when McDonald's and Pizza Hut and Kentucky Fried Chicken started to invade China. Now their diabetes and heart disease is running rampant. But prior to that, they were doing phenomenal, much better than than a lot of other countries, right? And what did they eat? They ate a lot of soy. So soy is we don't believe, we eat it. We're not afraid of it. Now, if you don't like it, or if your doctor has told you don't eat it, we're never going to go against what your doctor is advising you, but we're not afraid of it. We eat it. It's not like we're eating it every day at every meal, but we're not afraid of it. And we absolutely eat soy. So
yeah, and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, my one of my pet peeves with dairy and those hormones. There's some fear about some phytoestrogen-like compounds that are in soy products. And people are concerned about that estrogen-like compound, whereas dairy products have actual estrogen, and not enough people are talking about that.
Yeah. It drives me nuts when I see it. But so I hope that helps you, but we're not afraid of soy.
Yeah, and if you can't have soy for some reason, that's okay, because there are tens of thousands of types of legumes, and soy is just one of them. So there's a lot more you can eat, and just don't worry about soy.
Yeah. Hope that helps.
Sort of off of what you were just talking about from dairy, Lori said, Mark and Kim, what do you opt for in lieu of regular yogurt? She says that's a tough one for her, and she's trying to find an alternative.
Right. So I like to buy a yogurt that's made by the So Delicious company, and that's coconut based. I like to buy their vanilla unsweetened version, because a lot of yogurts have a lot of sugar added, and I don't really want it heavy with a lot of sugar. So I buy the unsweetened vanilla tub, and then I sweeten it myself using agave syrup or maple syrup and berries or chopped up bananas. That's what I like. But there are a lot of different plant-based yogurts out there, made from oats, made from almonds, made from soy too. So I would say just, try a few of them and see what appeals to you.
Absolutely. And just to go off of that, kind of talking about some plant-based swaps for dairy, Joe asked if you eat plant-based dairy alternatives, or do you try to shy away because of the fat content? And I think he's talking about plant-based cheeses specifically.
Yeah. So we do eat plant-based cheeses. We're just careful, right? And when we talk about no fat, it's not what I like to say is it's not no fat, N-O, it's no fat, K-N-O-W, right? And so we try to focus. So we do eat some of those once in a while, Joe. There are some versions that you can find on YouTube and other places that are less or lower in fat. But we do eat some of those. Sometimes we do have a slice of chow cheese or something along those lines. But I need to be careful. Not so much Kim. Kim was never diabetic. My children are not diabetic. But I am sure that if I eat a bunch of fat, even peanuts, all the like Kim mentioned earlier, the nuts and seed world, we can have some. I can have some, but just a little bit for me because of the illnesses I used to have, and I don't want to be diabetic again. So I keep the fat low. But yes, we do have some chow cheese. You just need to be careful, because oftentimes you will see that many of those cheeses have a bunch of oil, or they just have a bunch of nuts and seeds that make them very high in fat. So if, a lot of people, one of their goals is to maybe lose some weight or shed some pounds. So that's another thing, by keeping that just to a minimum, it'll help. But yes, you can have some plant-based cheeses once in a while. It just can't be very often. And that's kind of our position. But, that's our position because of where we are. If you've never been diabetic and you want to eat more and your body and your levels are all okay, then hey, I'm cool.
Those products can really help people when they're transitioning. Actually, it's kind of surprising to me, but when we first started helping people, the thing that they miss the most, we would hear, is cheese, not meat. So I think those vegan cheese products can help people get over the hump, sort of.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Hope that helps, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And on that topic, someone or Rebecca just asked about, she just mentioned nooch for cheese.
Yes, I'm glad Rebecca brought that up. We love nooch, otherwise known as nutritional yeast. If you're not familiar with it, it's a flaky, sometimes powdery product that you can buy in the baking aisle. Bob's Red Mill sells it in those cellophane bags near the flowers. It has a tangy kind of cheddar-like cheese flavor, and we love it. We buy big tubs of it at the vitamin shop. You
Yeah.
can find it too.
One of my favorite snacks is taking some air pop popcorn. You throw some nutritional yeast on top, and then some like Louisiana hot sauce or maybe Frank's Red Hot. Throw that and then just mix it with a spoon, and then man, it's fantastic. So yeah, we put it with nutritional yeast. We put it on soups. We put it on potatoes. We put it on a bunch of stuff. So thanks for bringing that up, Rebecca. Great point.
Absolutely. And another question, just piggybacking off of that as well, because I know a lot of the reason a lot of people like nooch is it's often fortified with B12. Someone asked, how much dosage of B12 do you recommend that we take weekly or?
So typically what we shoot for is we aim for 2,000 micrograms of B12 a week. So you'll find pills, they'll come in 250 micrograms, 500, 1,000, 2,000. So we try to go 2,000 micrograms per week. So it's a small amount. Really, we buy our the pills that we buy or the supplements that we buy, they're cheap. It's like $5, $7 for a bottle, and you'll get like 30, 60 or 90 of them. I don't know, you get plenty. So it's cheap insurance to keep making sure that your body gets that B12 in there. So it is, it's very easy and cheap, but at 2,000 micrograms, that's what we aim for and shoot for in a week.
All right. Let me see. There's just a quick comment from Paula saying she saw you both when you did a presentation at Andiamo's a few years back, and apparently the way you eat also has something to do with not aging. So she's saying you guys are looking great.
Oh, you're so kind.
We
Thank
appreciate
you.
the kind words.
Okay, let me see. Amy asked a little while back. She said, how would you suggest talking to family and friends to adopt a plant-based diet? She says that she finds people become very defensive when she brings it up.
Yeah, that's true. They do become defensive. I found that not to talk about it while you're eating, if you're at a family event or party, we don't talk about it while people are eating, because they can take offense really easily if they're sitting there eating a chicken drumstick and you're talking about this. So we try to keep those conversations away from the table. And we also kind of express our position, and then we try to lead by example, and we don't bring it up unless we're asked questions about it.
Yeah, I mean, most times your family, especially family members and friends, right? Depending on who you're talking to and what the relationship's like my family back in Chicago, when we first started this and we saw what happened so immediately within months, I was calling them all the time, guys, we got to do this. Hey, look at what's happening. Hey, I got rid of all my medications. I lost all this weight. And they were like, yeah, I don't want to hear that. So the phone calls, they weren't getting answered now. And I don't want to have that strain on that relationship. So I had to pick my foot up off the gas a little bit and say, you know what we learned early on is you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to or are not ready to do themselves. I think in time, a lot of people end up developing some type of chronic illness. They'll remember, oh, you know what, Rebecca or this person or that my sister, my brother, they're doing so well. Maybe I'll just try to tap into some of that, and eventually, just hopefully they'll reach out and ask you some information. But it doesn't help you to try and force somebody to do something they don't want to do, because it doesn't really work.
Right.
So I hope that helps. But
absolutely, could not agree more. All right, well, it looks like that basically covered all of the questions. So yeah, and that seems like a great place to end anyway. Just real quick, I'm going to put in the chat box that really brief survey I mentioned earlier at the beginning. If you all wouldn't mind filling it out, that'd be really helpful. And thanks so much again to Mark and Kim for presenting. That was wonderful and informative as always. And thank you to the Caroline Kennedy Library. Rob, are you still here? Do you have anything else to say? Or Mark and Kim, any closing statements?
You know,
Nothing more fit me.
just one thing, and that is that, if Kim and I, obviously we're health coaches. So if anyone's struggling, they want some one-on-one, or we can certainly help you. Just let us know. Follow, go to our website, shoot us an email, and we're more than happy to try and help you out. But Olivia, thank you. If you're not a member of Veg Michigan now, you need to become a member. They're a great organization,
Yes.
helping so many people try to improve their health.
We're members.
And
yes.
and we're members. We are. They're a great organization. So if you're not one now, please consider joining. It's a small amount, a small fee for really what you get in all the events they host every year, just a bunch of events throughout the year. So great organization. Olivia, thank you for what you do. And to the library, thank you so much for hosting this event. We appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us, everybody.
Yep. Thanks,
Yeah,
everyone.
thanks so
You
much,
can do
everyone.
this. Everybody can do this. And we'll help you if you need it.
Reach out to us if you need help. Reach out to Veg Michigan. Reach out to Mark and Kim. We're here to support you and give you all the information you're looking for.
Yep. Good stuff.
All right. I think we're all set. So take care, everyone. Have a great night.
See ya. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys. See ya.